Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for one of your video blogs, the first one of the day for July 18, 2014, around 7:33 in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's going to be a nice and sunny day, around 75 to 80, low humidity, and the sun is shining. We'll have this kind of weather for the next few days until the heat and humidity return. Some sports news to report. The Major League Baseball season gets back in full swing after the All-Star break, and if you have cable and satellite, you are going to be treated to a free preview of extra innings package. You could get up to 80 out-of-market Major League Baseball games, and if you like it, you could order it at a discount rate for the rest of the season. And also, the 2015 NFL Draft is most likely going to be held in Chicago or Los Angeles. And that's about it for sports news. My first video subject of the day is about one of pro wrestling's best feuds of all time that happened in World Class Championship Wrestling in Dallas, Texas. It was the Von Erichs, who were Kevin, Kerry, David, and Mike, feuding off against the fabulous Freebirds, who were Michael P.S. Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, and Buddy Jack Rogers. This was the best feud in World Class Championship Wrestling history, and it made World Class Championship Wrestling. World Class Championship Wrestling was a Dallas, Texas-based promotion run by Fritz Von Erich, who back in the day played a heel as a like Nazi German sympathizer, but he actually was from Texas, and after he retired, he ran the World Class Championship Wrestling in Dallas, Texas. It wasn't doing very great when he started it out, but in 1982 he got onto the CBN network, which broadcast all across the country, and it actually was that promotion was actually a vehicle for his sons Kerry, Kevin, and David to be stars of the promotion and probably be future NWA World Champions, because World Class Championship Wrestling had a affiliation with the NWA. They usually had the NWA champion tour the company on occasions. And around Christmas of 1982, like the fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, and Buddy Jack Rogers came to World Class Championship Wrestling after having successful runs in the Mid-South Wrestling and Georgia Championship Wrestling. They were known as one of the best heel tag teams of all time up to that point, and this was a natural feud for the Von Erichs against the fabulous Freebirds. The Freebirds came in to be friends with the Von Erichs in the storyline, and in Christmas of 1982, the Star Wars Supercard at Dallas Reunion Arena, Kerry Von Erich got a world title shot against Nature Boy Ric Flair in a steel cage match with double referees, with Manning and Michael Hayes, and Michael Hayes was favoring Kerry Von Erich a little bit, and when the first referee went down, Michael Hayes actually put Kerry Von Erich on Flair, but Kerry would refuse to win a belt like that cheaply, so he started arguing with Michael P.S. Hayes, who were pushing it out. As just about Kerry leaves the door, Terry Bam Bam Gordy comes in and slams the cage door in Kerry's face, and that ignited the feud. This feud lasted for several years and stuff like that. Every Friday night at the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. Usually it was headlined by the fabulous Freebirds against the Von Erichs in any type of match. A singles match, a tag team match, or a six-man tag team match, and it sold out Dallas Sportatorium, which was a very small venue and stuff like that. It was like they even fought over the World Six-Man Tag Team title for World Class Championship Wrestling. The World Six-Man Tag Team Championship was a focus of that feud, and probably that was the biggest focus of a World Six-Man Tag than the head title at World Class at the time, which was the North American Championship. And like, it's usually back and forth. Freebirds might win one week, or the Von Erichs might win another week. Freebirds win one week, Von Erich win another week. It went all around the territory and stuff and stuff like that, and it made the Von Erichs and Freebirds a lot of money, and some of the promos were outstanding. And Kevin Von Erich said one time, "This is not a war between Texas and Georgia. It's about a war between decency and filth." And it was one of the hottest feuds in 1983. It probably would have won Pro Wrestling Illustrated's 1983 Feud of the Year award if that category was in existence at that time. But tragedy happened on February 10th, 1984, when David Von Erich passed away in a wrestling tour in Japan. He was only 25 years old, and taking the place of him was Mike Von Erich, who was just a rookie, and he wasn't really ready to be a main event star. And this feud peaked in 1984 at the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions Supercard at Texas Stadium, where coming out of retirement was Fritz Von Erich teaming with Kevin and Mike against the fabulous Freebirds in like a bunkhouse match for the World-Class World Six-Man Tag Team Championship. And the crowd was over 45,000, and they were cheering so much for Kevin and Mike and Fritz, and the Von Erichs won. And then this feud kind of peaked out after that because the Freebirds left World Class to go to other places like the WWE Championship Wrestling from Florida and the AWA, but the Freebirds would be back in the World Class Championship Wrestling from time to time, maybe to be friends with the Von Erichs again, and then they turn heel, and they start the feud again a little bit. But by 1986, the World Class Championship Wrestling succeeded and withdrew their affiliations from the NWA because the main NWA promoter, Jim Crockett, was not going to lease the NWA champion to them anymore, who was Nature Boy Ric Flair, because he was on now TBS, and he did not want to help any of the NWA affiliates at all, because they were in competition with the WWE and AWA, so he was not going to lease the NWA champion to any NWA affiliated territory anymore. And also around that time, the booker for World Class Championship Wrestling, Ken Mantell, signed with Bill Watts Mid-South Wrestling, and Bill Watts Mid-South Wrestling was rebranding themselves to the Universal Wrestling Federation, which was going to be a national promotion. And he took in a talent lead the fabulous Freebirds, Iceman King Parsons, Chris Adams, Jack Victory, John Tatum, One Man Gang, Scandal Akbar, and a whole host of others to the Universal Wrestling Federation from World Class Championship Wrestling. And it just scattered the World Class Championship Wrestling. Those like the next 2 years was downtimes for World Class Championship Wrestling, because Kerry Von Erich got in a motorcycle accident, he couldn't wrestle. The death of Mike Von Erich due to suicide. The talent level wasn't as great. Every time they got good talent, it was either scooped up by WWE, Jim Crockett Promotions, or AWA. They tried to make a couple of wrestlers world champion material, like Black Bart, or try to make a heel who was Brian Adidas, who was real life childhood friends with Kerry Von Erich, from a mid-class, mid-card babyface to the top heel of the company. But that flopped big time, and the crowds of World Class champion at the Sportatorium and were down to like about 5 to 1,000 fans each week. And Fritz Von Erich was getting kind of fed up with the wrestling business, and he really wanted to get out, but it was in his blood. He wanted to keep on going, but World Class was probably on its last legs. And by the time like Christmas of 1987 rolled around, the Universal Wrestling Federation sold to Jim Crockett Promotions, and they got rid of a lot of the talent because they couldn't have all the talent in Jim Crockett Promotions. So the fabulous Freebirds, Terry Gordy, Buddy Roberts, and Iceman Keen Postmans were like fired from Jim Crockett Promotions, and they returned to World Class Championship Wrestling. And Fritz Von Erich really wanted to revive the Freebirds Von Erich feud. And on Christmas night, 1987, in a Star Wars Supercard at Reunion Arena, the Freebirds Von Erich feud reunited with like Kerry Von Erich and Fritz Von Erich getting attacked in a steel cage by the Freebirds, which was now Terry Gordy, Buddy Roberts, Iceman Keen Parsons, and the Angel of Death, and they attacked Fritz and Kerry so much, and once they carried Fritz out of the ring, he faked a heart attack, which people would say was a very, very low angle because they thought he was dead, but he wasn't. But this was to revive the world-class territory, and it like the Von Erich's Freebird feud continued again, but this time like it was just Kerry and Kevin, and they had like their friend Chris Adams and several other wrestlers to fight out against Terry and Buddy Roberts and the Iceman and the Angel of Death. And during each card, if the card was a sellout, they were saying Fritz was getting better, but if it wasn't a sellout, he was on his deathbed and his last rites. But this angle played out for about 5-6 months, and the Freebird Von Erich feud was continuing to be good, but you know, the cards would the attendance was dwindling in the territory. And also in, I think, around April of 1988, Michael PSAs came back from Jim Crockett's Promotions to World Class Championship Wrestling, and he actually sided with the Von Erichs in this feud. And I said, and looking at it, I thought this was a setup to get Michael Hayes back with the Freebirds so he could turn heel and go back with the Freebirds, but that didn't happen, and the angle was eventually played out, ended a few months later. And then after this angle was over, Fritz Von Erich sold World Class Championship Wrestling to Jerry Jarrett, who ran the CWA out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Jerry Jarrett actually ran World Class for a while, but he actually rebranded it as the USWA and tried to make it a national promotion. The World Class Championship Wrestling this feud was World Class Championship Wrestling. It was the best feud of all time in World Class Championship Wrestling, and the WWE made this the number 6 feud of all time in their 25 greatest wrestling feuds of all time DVD last year. This was the best feud ever for World Class Championship Wrestling. It was probably the only significant feud with World Class Championship Wrestling that made it, because you wouldn't see a feud like this ever again. And it was good. This was a vehicle for the Von Erichs to feud with established heel faction, the Freebirds and stuff like that. It was good. And you know, I still see it today on DVDs and YouTube. It's the best feud of all time in World Class Championship Wrestling. Well, I'll be back later on into the day with more of these video blogs, okay? Have a good day, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.